네, 안녕하십니까. 현재 샤카디타 인터내셔널 회장이신데요. 한국 불자들에게 본인 소개를 간단히 부탁드립니다.
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me to meet you and speak with you today. So I am a professor of Buddhism, and I have been a professor for 23 years at Seattle University in Washington. And I teach mostly introduction to Buddhism, Buddhism and women, Buddhism and film, and Buddhism and race. And so much of my research and my teaching is really about the role of women in Buddhism, as well as the ways that Buddhism has been spread in the US and the ways in which it relates to issues of gender, race, and ethnicity. So that's pretty much where I teach and what my research is. And I'm also a teacher of mindfulness and mindful eating. So I do a lot of different things within this area. And I'm the current president of 샤카디타 International Association of Buddhist Women. And I am just finishing my first year. And so it's been a great honor and also a big learning curve. There's been a lot of great work that's been done before me, and I accepted this invitation to be nominated by Venerable Karma Lekshe Somo. And so she asked me, and so I said yes, because she's done so much work in starting and collaborating with so many incredible Buddhist women. And it was an honor to say yes and to be asked, and also a big responsibility.
한국 불교와의 인연은 어디서부터 시작됐는지, 그리고 샤카디타 활동하게 되신 계기는 어떤 건지 궁금한데요.
Well, first of all, I am a second generation Korean American. So my parents immigrated from Korea in 1959. So they were very young. And most Koreans immigrated to the United States in the 1970s. And so my parents immigrated quite young. And so we didn't have a very big Korean community when I was growing up. And so in many ways, my interest in Buddhism intersected also with Korean culture as I went to college, and I moved to Los Angeles during graduate school and met a Korean Buddhist monk and began to work at a Korean Buddhist temple. And that's really where my interest in Buddhism and deepening my understanding of Korean Buddhism in particular grew. There's not a lot of people in the US that know that much about Korean Buddhism. Most people know about Japanese Zen or Tibetan Buddhism, but there hasn't been that much attention paid to Korean Buddhism just yet. There's a lot of white American Buddhists who follow a few Buddhist monks from Korea, but in general, most lay Buddhist practices that we may find in Korea don't have a lot of popularity in the US amongst white practitioners. They just don't know. And so my interest in really serving as a professor, but also in my relationship to 샤카디타 is also to spread some awareness that there's more than just a few types of Buddhism in the United States that are represented. And in terms of my interest in 샤카디타 and the work that 샤카디타 has been doing for over 35 years is really to continue this deep commitment to supporting Buddhist women. Buddhist women have been around since the Buddha was teaching, and in many ways, Buddhist women have not received the level of support and recognition that they rightfully deserve. And so I think that 샤카디타 is incredible in really supporting women in a variety of different ways, whether it's ordination, access to education, healthcare, mental health. And so it's been a great honor. And I'm just starting my second year and getting ready for the conference in Korea. So it's very exciting.
탈종교화가 세계적인 흐름입니다. 미국 내 불교는 어떤 상황이고 또 한국 불교를 어떻게 바라보고 있는지 좀 궁금합니다.
Oh, I love that you asked this question because this is also a lot of the work that I do in my own research and my teaching. And I think in the West, in the US in particular, there's a way of looking at Buddhism as if it's not a religion. And so a lot of times when I teach my undergraduates, the first thing that they say is, oh, we love Buddhism because it's not a religion. And I think, what? I was raised to think it was a religion. I practice it as a religion. And all the Buddhists that I know think of this practice as a religious tradition. And yet something happens in the historical development of Buddhism in the United States where meditation becomes the most important part of practice. In many ways, meditation has become the primary identifying practice of Buddhism. And historically, certainly in the 50s and 60s, early 70s, when Buddhist meditation became very popular amongst white Americans, it was the meditation and not the chanting, not the bowing, not the other forms of practice that became the most important. Interestingly, in the US right now, meditation is understood primarily as mindfulness, and mindfulness has become very popular and also has been introduced in schools, introduced in even in healthcare, in psychotherapy, as well as even in the military. And so it's quite a shocking thing. And so mindfulness then gets pulled out of Buddhism and considered a practice that's not religious at all.
한국에서 위기의 세상 속에 깨어있기를 주제로 제18차 대회가 열리는데요. 한국 불자들에게 전하고 싶은 이야기가 있으시다면요?
That has continued over the course of time. And so in many ways, our committee is very much dedicated to continuing to support and push for the full ordination of women and access to education. You know, right now the program committee has been very busy working on the 18th conference, which will be in Seoul, which we're all very excited about. Right now, the program committee has received over 100 proposals for papers for the conference, and I just counted this morning over 67 workshop proposals. So many different topics that we've been engaged in for so long. So 샤카디타 has always been socially engaged, and so this is something that we continue to do. So conferences are every 2 years, and our last conference was online. So in many ways, our work right now is to continue and to shift back to an in-person model in Korea. And we're so lucky because the Korean Bhikshuni Association is so strong in Korea. And so as president, I feel so fortunate and lucky.
네, 인터뷰 응해주셔서 감사합니다.